Hi everyone. Today I want to talk about one of our five senses that is very important in our everyday life but also in our magical practice. I want to talk about the smell. Now, why am I talking about this? Well, um, because when I did my video on Halloween and Samhain, um, it made me think of it. But before I go further with that, I'm gonna explain why it is really important in our life. This is a cup of coffee, and for all the coffee lovers or tea lovers, depending on what you love, um, it can play on our mood because um, there's nothing more happier than waking up to the smell of coffee, you know. So that's why it's really important. And that's in our everyday lives. But in our magical practice, it can help us in many different ways. Now, uh, the first one is this week is Samhain, and in this special week, the veil is really thin. So our ancestors are closer to us, and they might try to send you some messages. Now, some of us can see them, other hear them, but for those who can't, they can communicate with you by the smelling part, if I can say. I mean, who doesn't remember going to their grandparents when they were young and smelling cakes that maybe your grandmother was doing? Or maybe your father aftershave, your mother's perfume, or your grandfather tobacco pipe? So this can all be linked to good memories, and unfortunately, there can also be a link to sad and bad memories. But let's focus on the good one. So yes, that can be a way for them to try to let you know that they are here. So don't be surprised if you're, let's say, alone in the house, sitting just like me, and then um, maybe you start smelling your mother's perfume. That simply means that she's with you, and that's a way to letting you know. Now, this can also happen with our gods and goddesses. What I mean by that is that, for example, this is pine incense, and sometimes I burn it to honor my god Odin's. So every time I burn this, I'm thinking about Odin and about you, winter. So these are all good memories for me. Now, sometimes it might happen that, like I said, I'm sitting here, maybe reading a book, and then out of nowhere, the smell of pine is coming. So that can be a way for Odin to let me know that he's here, or maybe that it's time that to light an incense stick for him, maybe because he wants it, or just maybe because um, he wants to share it with me. Let's say he wants me to feel good or something like that. Maybe if I'm sad. So that's a way for them to communicate with us. And it's also important because it can set the mood on your magical work. So for example, let's imagine that it's a rose incense stick. So if I'm working on a love spell or sachet bag, I should say, well then I can burn this and it will set the mood of love, maybe lust, and things like that. Now, maybe if you want to meditate about something, well, you can use a different kind of incense, especially for that. Let's say you want to do some shaman work, well, then you might use some tobacco incense. So there's different way to use them, and really it can be really helpful, because sometimes maybe you're not a visual or you can't visualize something. Well, then maybe just by smelling it, it will come to you. So let's say I can't see a pine, let's just say. Then by smelling that, I'm gonna smell the pine, and then the picture will flow to my mind. I will see the pine, maybe smell the branch, and then I might think about Odin, winter, and things like that. So that's a good way to do it. Now, um, it can also be linked to bad memories, or also in um, health problems, because like I'm doing migraines, so if I smell some paint, well, then it might trigger a migraine, so that's bad. And also other smell can be linked to bad memories. For example, maybe if you smell wood burn, well, maybe if you were in a fire, well, it might trigger those memories back. But as I said, let's try to focus on the good ones. And like I said, coffee is a good one, tea if you love it, some food, excuse me, just making some food for the kitchen witch. And another example is that when I smells lavender, I always think about this bubble bath that I was using a lot and still do, obviously. And when I smell it, smells great. Wish you could smell it, but take a look. I don't know if you can see. Beautiful purple. Well, when I smell that, it make me remember the bath that I was taking and the fun, you know, playing in the bath and things like that. So it's really great. And also, it helps me calm down because that's what lavender does. So that's why the sense of smell is very important, and whether it's our everyday life or in our magical path. Now, I hope that this little video will help you and maybe give you some little ideas. So, thank you for joining me.